My chosen designer from the What Was Good Design? MoMA Message 1944 to 1956 exhibition is Paul Rand. Paul Rand was an American graphic designer born in Brooklyn, New York into a Jewish Orthodox home in 1914. Ever since he was young, he had always embraced design, even taking a night class at Pratt Institute while still attending high school at the age of 14. However, his father didn't support the career direction he was going because he didn't believe he could make a living off design, and was even hesitant to allow him to attend the night classes. Unfortunately, later in his career, he had stated, "I literally learned nothing at Pratt, or whatever little I learned by doing myself." Rand later went on to study at other design schools, including Parsons School of Design and the Art Students League, but realized he was by and large a self-taught designer. Spending time in bookshops, he discovered Commercial Art and Gebras Graphic, two leading European graphic arts magazines which introduced him to Bauhaus ideas. This was the beginning of his early career. At this point, he knew he wanted to focus on the commercial side of art. Rand's career began with a part-time job as an illustrator creating stock images for various newspapers and magazines. Though his work wasn't anything special, he learned much more about graphic design techniques than he had in school. It was around this time he had created the alias Paul Rand, convinced by his friends that his real Jewish name would slow his career down. In choosing the name, he figured that making his alias 4 letters in each word would create a nice symbol as a brand identity. Peter Behrens, a German architect and designer, notes the importance of this new title. He quotes, "Rand's new persona, which served as the brand name for his many accomplishments, was the first corporate identity he created, and he may also eventually prove to be the most enduring." In 1936, Rand was hired as a freelance designer to produce layouts for Apparel Arts, a men's fashion magazine. Although his methods were unconventional since they relied on the intelligence of the viewer, it was never too extreme. Here are two of Rand's pieces he did for Apparel Arts. You can see the use of contrasting colors and hierarchy to manipulate the attention of the viewer to specific graphic elements in the design. He had believed that lines, shapes, and colors could become message-conveying signs and symbols in visual communications while simultaneously functioning as elements in artistic compositions. For example, in a 1947 poster promoting the New York Subway's advertising company, Rand's arrangement of dots and concentric circles in vibrant colors becomes both an illustrative image and a dynamic composition. Rand was quickly moving into the forefront of his profession. In his early 20s, he was producing work that began to garner international acclaim, notably his designs on the covers of Direction magazine, which Rand produced for free in exchange for full artistic freedom. His covers were a homage to the Bauhaus ideas. He quoted, "When I was doing covers of Direction, I was trying to compete with the Bauhaus Van Doesburg, Liga, and Picasso. Compete is not the right word, I was trying to do it in the spirit." The covers ended up being one of his most popular pieces that he had done over his years, and his career only took off from there, working with some of the largest corporations later on. To name a few, he designed the logos of IBM, Cummins Engine, Westinghouse, UPS, and many others who still use his logos to this day, which is a testament to good design. The object that Paul Rand designed as part of the What Was Good Design exhibition was his abacus printed textile in 1946, which was chosen because he followed Dieter Rams' 10 Principles of Good Design. To design this piece, Lawrence Anton, a manufacturer, had asked Paul Rand to collaborate with him to help produce his new line of textile designs called the Campagna collection, which Rand had happily agreed to design. The 10 Principles of Good Design was based on industrial and product design. However, those principles can be applied to other areas of design too, which this piece was an example of being mostly graphic art screen printed onto fabric, but showing it can still adhere to the 10 Principles of Good Design. Here I will explore what I think is the 5 most important principles in regards to the abacus design. Number 1. Good design is aesthetic. As a pattern design and decorative object, it is clear that aesthetics play a huge part in the design. You can see the connection between dark and light, foreground and background, transparency and opacity, used to enhance this textile by adding depth and movement to the piece. Rand enjoyed this design so much that later he used this photogram as a cover to his book, Thoughts on Design, which later went on to become famous. Number 2. Good design is innovative. It was the first of its kind to create a pattern design using cameraless photography known as photograms. This was experimental for Rand, exploring different aspects of geometry with overlapping ovals. This was fitting as Rand was actually known for his geometrical designs. Number 3. Good design is unobtrusive. The abacus design uses a geometrical repeating pattern, making it quite simple to understand. There is no clutter of visual information in the design. The idea comes across very well and is easy on the eyes. Number 4. Good design is as little as possible. The design of the abacus was quite simple. It was the outlines of an abacus in a repeating pattern. As quoted by Paul Rand, the possibilities of a repetition are limitless. Repeat patterns are only one familiar form. There is a repetition of color, direction, weight, texture, dimension, movement, expression, shape, and so on. Repetition is an effective way of achieving unity. And lastly, number 5. Good design is thorough down to the last detail. The meaning behind the abacus design was well thought out. It was something that wouldn't have been seen with a glance. It was a metaphor of the design process, moving elements around to compose space, and it provides visual record of the process. What I learned from Rand's work has changed my perspective on design. I think what made him such a great designer and set him apart from the rest was his irrational love for design. He attended night classes to learn design. He did free work for full artistic freedom, and he was still designing till the day he passed away. A lot of Rand's work had underlying meaning to them and required the audience to figure it out, yet at the same time still be aesthetically pleasing and simple. I feel now I can improve my skills in design by putting better thought into my designs rather than just focusing on the aesthetics.